Hey guys, Troy Casey, certified health nut here, reporting live from planet Earth. In an effort to bring you more fun, freedom, and phenomenon, tonight we have brought on Jonathan Otto. He has a program at urinetherapy.com. Many of you guys keep asking me about urine therapy. A lot of people are grossed out, and a lot of people are very intrigued because they've heard the anecdotes and the kind of the history of Shivambu and the yogis and the Chinese, and our ancient cultures used this as an antiseptic, as a healing mechanism, as a hair of the dog, etc. And so we brought on Jonathan. He's done a lot of research in this. He's a researcher, and he also worked with Dr. Edward Group to bring urinetherapy.com to us. So, Jonathan, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much, Troy. It's such a pleasure to be with you, man. I love you. I love what you're doing. I love your energy, your spirit, your care for the world and for people getting these precious therapies that have been really demonized and people know so little about. So I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. So let's get right into it. Tell us a little bit about where you grew up, your background, your educational background.
Absolutely. So grew up in Australia. I went to university studying investigative work in reporting and journalism. So after I completed my degree in journalism, I went in to do some extra study and found myself then doing work in the developing world. So I did a lot of work in Africa and through Asia, doing a lot of reporting on global health issues. And specifically, I found a lot of, anything I could do to help people in suffering since I was a child. And then when things started accelerating more in my early 20s, then that was kind of where I put a lot of my effort and energy. Then I found myself in America. I married an American woman. Have two babies, 4 and 2 year old. We live in Puerto Rico. I found as my life skyrocketed in these different areas and directions, I had a lot of access as well to medical professionals and experts and people that were able to help solve major issues. And I'd struggled a lot with my health through my whole childhood, like serious health conditions, whether it was from Lyme disease or Epstein-Barr, Ross River fever, glandular fever, cytomegalovirus, chronic fatigue syndrome, which was super debilitating. And I found that the more I delved into the holistic side of medicine, the more I was able to find answers to my problems, able to change my life, able to change my wife's life. And the rest was history. I found myself on projects like The Truth About Cancer. I was working as a producer with them for years, and that was close to 10 years ago now. I went into The Truth About Vaccines and was doing all kinds of work reporting on different issues there. And as I continued to pull the thread, I found that the more I looked into things, there were so many things that even some of the doctors that I was connecting with, they didn't know some of these areas of research. So my role then became in finding information, being a true investigative journalist, but then taking that information, putting that before some of these medical professionals that often hadn't seen them, even though they were tremendous clinicians and working in various areas of preventing and reversing and treating cancer, to all kinds of autoimmune diseases and brain diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia. And then I was able to help bring information to these individuals and experts and help improve their practices, because often there was a disconnect between the research and the clinical practice. And so that's where I've spent a lot of my effort and energy. And I've been, speaking at conferences and interfacing with a lot of medical professionals, sharing information. And urine therapy has been a really critical part of that, along with other therapies. But it's such a fantastic therapy, and I'm seeing tremendous results with it. Hence why it'll be the focus of our conversation.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your research in the history of urine therapy, Shivambu.
Yeah. So it's very interesting that it's pretty unbroken when it comes to its historical record, where it spans from and to. So whether it was Egyptian, ancient Judaism, so any Christian that reads the Bible should then realize, wow, there's a huge heritage about urine therapy. Proverbs 5 says, drink water from thine own well, draw water from thine own cistern. It is a verse about adultery, but it also does appear to have that primary reference to to actually drinking from your own fountain, which would give you your own homeopathic solution to a problem. It would give you your own unique antibody response. Water carries memory. So your unique water is what you need. It's coded for you. So drink water from your own well, draw water from that own cistern. But the Bible actually talks a lot about living water. And so whether it was Jesus or in the books of Revelation, where the last few chapters talks about it, the river of life, clear as crystal, proceeding from the throne of God from the Lamb, this water of life, living water. Why? And Jesus said that out of your own belly will flow rivers of living water. So now living water, where do we see examples of this? And if you look at the stem cell count in urine, which only really fully got proven in 2008, and then more dramatically last year by the Wake Forest Institute, where they found 100 million stem cells, mesenchymal-like stem cells in a 24-hour urine sample, then you started to look at the essence of, wow, this is living water. This is water. This is the water of life, like J.W. Armstrong talked about, which is a book that you recommend. This is living water. And it's the most dramatic example of this because you don't find undifferentiated cells in any other type of water that I've ever seen, but you have them there in your own urine, which is incredible. So then you have Egyptian, ancient Judaism, where they're going back as far as we can possibly go, but then it continues through history. So then you'll see it in the Greek text, you'll see it in Roman texts, you'll see it in the Roman practice actually a lot of the economy of Rome thrived on urine, and some of the governors that would get mocked because they would sell and have a urine taxation system where you had to actually even purchase, you would have public urinals, but then you'd have to purchase this urine. And as people would mock this, this governor, or Caesar, if you will, like that type role, he would hold up a coin and say, money doesn't stink. And so they really realized the utility, which is definitely clear today, that there's huge utility. There's a lot of money being transacted, and a lot of people aren't aware of that. But it's money that you could keep in your pocket if you're using your own urine or the urine of family members based on different needs. And we can talk more about why that would even be a thing. But it continues on, and Shivambu then you're looking at more of the Eastern texts, and you're looking at Ayurvedic, so Indian from India, and it's also an American Indian, obviously not related, but these cultures had them, a native Australian Aboriginal, Taino in Puerto Rico, then all through Asia, whether it was Japanese, Taiwanese, China. These have tremendous histories of urine therapy. And for those that are kind of pretty narrow in their conception, that you would think that they only did it because they didn't have access to other medicines, are really missing the point that we have basically the worst type of preventative medicine in America and basically any developed country, and their medicines were so far better. And then the other shocking thing that people need to realize is that urine in modern medicine is the single most studied substance out of any substance, and it's used for basically almost every function of the body, whether it's urokinase for blood clots or for cancer, which is an enzyme that is extracted from urine, which is taken from urine that is collected from urinals by companies like Enzymes of America, who have the subsidiary Portageon as one example. Then you have the urea, that is basically the only clinically proven skin moisturizer in the world. It's incredibly absorbable because urine is naturally transdermal, because babies are born in a womb which is filled with urine, and that urine is going through their skin intentionally because it's actually delivering stem cells to attach to the genetic blueprint of that fetus, of that unborn baby, to help it grow. It is the building blocks. And this is why at the week 10 mark, this is when amniotic fluid, which is urine, goes through the nostrils, through the mouth, which is very similar to what you read in Genesis 2, where it says God breathed into Adam's nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. When the urine goes in through the nostrils, through the mouth, and then it goes into the lungs, it's actually forming the lungs. And this is what it says in any clinical study. And now everything needs to be reassessed, because in 2008, we discover that urine has stem cells in it. Oh, well, that makes sense. Just because you don't understand what's happening doesn't mean it's not happening. It's God's masterpiece.
Wow. That's fantastic, because look, I'm a living testament. I'm a walking anecdote, right? for this practice for the past 20 years. I have not done a ton of research. I tapped into my intuition. I heard some of this anecdotal, historical information, Ayurvedic. It was presented to me in the yoga culture, and it sounded good. It wasn't something I got in a yoga class. It was something that I heard or read, and then I tried it. And 20 years later, the more I learn about it, the more I understand my own intuition. So I have a couple viral videos all over TikTok and Instagram currently, and there are a lot of people that are super offended, calling it waste, saying, "Why don't you eat your shit?" And so, I mean, of course, it's TikTok, so people are base consciousness or super low level consciousness, and so I've heard a lot of um, uh, anger, vitriol, upsettedness. And so, can you explain? Like, people think, "Hey, your body excreted this waste. Why are you putting it back into your body?" And the understanding for most people on the internet is this is waste, and it's going to harm your kidneys.
Yeah, yeah, it's such a good one to answer. Yeah. Look, low vibe, right? You've got a lot of combative energy and people's minds are just shut down. I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to tell you the answer to this, which is going to completely make sense. And it's completely based on science, but are you listening? That's the first question. So just make sure you're listening to what I'm saying as I'm saying it. And firstly, let me tell you this. If urine was a waste product and had any waste product in it, babies would die in the womb. Why? Because babies are getting actually hundreds of chemicals. On average, it's around 287 chemicals through the umbilical cord from the mother. So it's not that they don't get chemicals and toxins in them. Now, if the urine is the filtration system for the waste products to get out of the body, which they're in the body, even in an unborn baby, guess what you're going to have? You're going to have a compounding of waste in the womb, which means that the baby is now urinating out that waste. It's now drinking it again. By the way, babies are drinking urine about every 3 hours, a lot more than you and I are doing it, Troy. We are not quite doing, I don't know if you're doing it every 3 hours, but you know, that'd be fine as far as I'm concerned. It's so helpful and non-harmful that you can safely do that. And that's why babies safely do that and self-select. And nobody had to tell them to do it. And guess what? They're also self-selecting based on taste, which is showing that they're basically they're connoisseurs of aged and fresh urine, because you've got aged urine that basically is almost up to 9 months. And here you've got this cycling system. So now what is it that I'm explaining then? If babies not only don't get toxically infected, instead their urine is the most healing and healthful substance to them. It's critical for their survival. If babies don't produce urine, they die in the womb. That's the reality. They die at about 10 weeks. They can't form lungs. It's so critical for them. And in fact, they wouldn't be able to form other organs either, because you look at the masterpiece of God, this is living water. And every time you look at this replicated in science, if you look at what happens when you get a stem cell and you attach it to a genetic blueprint, it's going to attach and form. It's an undifferentiated cell. It doesn't know what it is. It doesn't need to know. It needs to know as soon as it arrives at that information, then it will instruct it of what it should be. And now when you have a stem cell attaching to part of the face, and it's got an instruction now, and now it says you're going to be an eye cell, and you're going to be, and it goes into the mouth and says you're going to be a tongue, you're going to be the esophagus, you're going to be this, and this, all the instructions are happening. It's this masterpiece. It's living water. The baby is being sculpted inside of water.
So the baby, carry on with the train of thought after this, but the baby is drinking its urine or the mother's urine, or the amniotic fluid is created by the mother or the baby?
It switches. It's originally the mother's urine, then it becomes the baby's urine, and it increasingly becomes the baby's urine over time. So once it's producing, it's basically its own determiner of its own destiny. It's producing its own cells. This is the reason why a baby will have often a different blood type to its mother. It's its own organism. It's its own soul. It is creating its own stem cells, its own genetic blueprint. It's incredible when you understand this. So it is its own producer of its own urine, and increasingly so in the third trimester, when the urine production rapidly produces, the baby now completely switches. It's no longer any of the mother's urine. It's all the baby's urine at this point. And the baby's self-healing. The baby is basically curing itself of terminal diseases, including fluid cysts in the brain and bright spots in the heart. And I'm not saying that the urine is the only activator here, but I'm saying it's the thing that they're doing. If you look at what they're actually doing to deal with their problem, it's this. That's what they're actively doing. And that's how they're signaling themselves. Like, and so now I'll answer the question on the waste product. So now, what is it that we're seeing in urine? Because I'm no fool. I understand. I've had not a million, but I've had a lot of urine tests done, and I've seen toxins in my urine, quote unquote. So now, what am I looking at? If I'm saying it's not waste product, then what is this that I'm looking at? What are these markers? And I'll tell you what they are. They're actually metabolites. They're not the waste product themselves. They're a signature of that waste product. It's a metabolic form of that product, which the body has converted. So the body actually can process something and transmutate it and change it into another substance that has the same structure and will score the same. So it will actually say, this has all the markers of mercury. This has all the markers of aluminum, but it's actually not that substance. And even if somebody was to try to somehow come up with the fact that, no, it is the same substance, it's in a form that is non-harmful, which has been proven by science. When you see people that are completely mercury poisoned and you see that in their urine, instead of having massive amounts of urine, if they're mercury poisoned and urine is an elimination system, then they would have high amounts of mercury in their urine. But the reality is they have very low amounts, infinitesimal amounts, safe amounts, which is surprising. And now what happens when they drink that, their mercury levels actually go down, not up. So it's not harmful to the kidneys. Studies, any study that you do it on yourself. Like I've had a lot of tests done on myself over the last 14 months. You're 20 years and I'm 15 months in. My blood work has continued to skyrocket in its improvement. My kidney function up, not down. And anyone that looks into this will find the same result. If you really want to know every single product in urine, go to urinmetabolome.ca, and we have it on urinetherapy.com. We have links there, so it's easy to remember, urinetherapy.com. But if you look at urine metabolome, you'll find that there's 5,600 compounds in urine. And now of those compounds and metabolites, they're all bound forms of how your body will convert a substance. And its water memory is incredible. You've got a print in water of what the issue actually is, and you've got everything there. You've got all your neurotransmitters, so your serotonin, your dopamine, epinephrine, norepinephrine. You've got all your hormones, your testosterone. Now, if your body was eliminating these, why would it do that when you're often, basically everyone listening to this, probably deficient in everything, right? Why would the body dump these out? But what it's giving you is information, signatures. And now why is it dumping it out? Balance. Just because your body doesn't need it or can't absorb it or utilize it at this point in time doesn't mean that it doesn't need it. And this is the reason why you keep eating as well. It's because you're needing, this is a cyclical thing, and your body needs to basically be signaled and have information given to it to continue to respond to it. So that's my answer to that one.
Wow, so much rich information. And so the next thing that comes up often is, and what I tell my clients is you definitely want to live a clean lifestyle, cleanse and detox lifestyle, pure lifestyle. But people often ask, how do I start? How do I get started? Can I do it while I'm on medical drugs? Can I do it while I'm eating processed junk food or, meats that aren't high quality, grown, et cetera? And so how does one get started? And what is, because obviously I've heard a lot of anecdotes of people curing their cancer. And so how pure does one need to be to start to get into it? Can they be on massive amounts of medical drugs and still drink their urine and gain benefits?
That's really interesting. And such an important question, because they're the big natural question marks that people should have, because you want to look at contraindications. Am I going to hurt myself? Do no harm, right? So in the information we give, we should do no harm. We should make sure we're giving people precautions and warn them where we need to and things like that. And I'd certainly give any warning. I mean, what am I selling? Urine? Like, this is something that I'm purely wanting people to get value and benefit. So I'm not going to hype it up if it's not meant to be used at a certain time. So I would say this, that the only contraindication for urine therapy is your kidneys not working. That doesn't mean even low functioning kidneys or kidneys that are struggling or But if the kidneys do not work and produce a filtrate, then urine is no longer, in that sense, safe to eat or drink. Sorry. And the reason why I just accidentally said the word eat is because if you look at what people eat and you go and hey, let's go out for dinner. Let's go to a steakhouse. And then, how would you like to order your meat? And then you say, oh, let's get a medium rare or rare. Okay. Now you're just basically straight up drinking blood. Whereas urine is plasma ultrafiltrate, which is plasma blood, ultra filtered blood. And even if your kidneys are like pretty messed up, they're still trying to produce a filtrate. They're trying to filter this, and it's pushing, like, your body is basically these nephrons are small, tiny tubes that the water and the blood is being pressed through to produce this, pure water. It's its own filtration system. Whereas if you take blood from an animal, you're just basically drinking urine without a filter. Whereas that's because urine is actually just blood. And this is what's amazing. It's blood, but filtered to a capacity where it's now in a water form, and it is water, but yet it is plasma, it's blood. And so these are the things that people need to consider. Now, should they do it with medications? I am saying yes, even though there are books like Your Own Perfect Medicine, which I recommend people to read, and you can get it from urinetherapy.com. You can read it there free. You could go and, or you could go purchase it. But these are great tools to look at. But even still in this book, she'll advise that Martha Christie will say, don't do it if you're on high amount of high, animal diets, or don't do it if you have high amounts of medication. I'm going to say the opposite. I'm going to say do it. And arguably, you should do it more if you are on those types of diets, or any kind of diet that you would cleanse or deem as unhealthy. Then you should do it more, because it's going to correct a lot of the issues you're getting from your diet and help give you what you're looking for. Because there's a reason why you're craving the wrong foods, and we all just have to accept ourselves and just say, look, sure, I've got a sugar addiction. Yeah, I'm addicted to carbs, or I'm addicted to excessive amounts of meat or whatever. And I'm not demonizing any diet. I'm not saying that anyone has to be on this or that diet. I'm going to just speak from a neutral position on this, but I'm saying that you should do it. And the reason is because your body will produce such a pure filtrate. And I'll give you an example. The most lethal things we have in nature are venoms. They're the most lethal because it's such a small amount, and with a small amount, you can actually, like a Conus geographus cone snail has an 80% fatality rate in humans, and it's the smallest little cone snail. And if you step on it, it will hit your neurotransmitters, specifically your nicotine receptors, and then it will disable all your functions and give you a heart attack in minutes, and these kinds of things. Now, these are so powerfully crippling for the body in shutting down all function. Now, should you drink your urine after you've been stung? Absolutely, you should. And everybody knows this because of folk medicine about jellyfish stings. And now a medication there are a lot of medications that are venom based. Now, do you see what I'm saying? You, in the same way that you would go and drink this because you got stung, you are getting stung, quote unquote, by medications, which you essentially have to be on. That's why you're doing it. So then correct the issue by using urine therapy and other modalities that support urine therapy and support your detoxification and your healing, and then get off those medications. That's what I would do. I can't give medical advice, but I can say that's exactly what I would do. And I'd do it in that order. And I wouldn't hesitate. Babies are getting born healthfully, even though their mothers are going and eating McDonald's every day. And this is a shock to people, but this is the body's incredible ability to transform substances. And so I wouldn't take that for granted.
Okay, awesome. I know personally my own experience that I feel much better, but maybe I will. Sometimes I'm just like, okay, well, maybe I had too much coffee, or I'm not feeling as good, so I'll drink less. Or I did a dry fast last week, and I'm purging parasite and taking parasite herbs. So I figured, maybe they're pooping and peeing ammonia in me, and let me drink less urine. So I will go against that and try a little bit more
That's
next
awesome.
time.
Urine is anti-parasitic, and so you're going to get a metabolite form of all those anti-parasitics you're taking. So your body is going to put those in metabolic forms that are going to be completely bioavailable to you. So you just enhance your supplement by drinking your urine.
Great. That's awesome. Now, I have drank my aged urine, and I wanted to get into aged urine as
Yeah.
well. I have drank my aged urine on camera multiple times, and it's pretty gnarly. It reminds me of the primordial element of something as strong and powerful as ayahuasca. It's just
Wow.
it's got that, ooh, this means business kind
Wow.
of energy behind it. And
That's a cool way to say it. I like that.
yeah, I mean, there's something very distinct about it, and it's powerful. You know, even the smell is powerful, but when you actually ingest a couple of ounces, and it tastes so gnarly, but it has such a powerful, great effect. So, can you speak a little bit? I read on the website that there's like 140, what is it, colonal
Yeah.
stem cells or
Yeah.
something,
Clonal stem cells. Yeah.
and then within 24 hours or something, it creates a
3 weeks.
million.
Uh,
3 weeks,
yeah.
3 weeks,
It
100
goes,
million.
yeah, you got it. You got it. You nailed it. That's it. So 140 stem cells in a 24-hour urine sample, replicated many, many times now, in the sense that that Wake Forest study took 10 healthy adult males. And so every time this was where the number ended up. It was 140 from each adult male. They found 140. If they let it sit for 3 weeks, it would proliferate into 100 million stem cells. Okay. So that's 3 weeks. So the rate of proliferation is 1 times 10 to the power of 8 in a 3-week period. So that is going to change as it goes past that number, in terms of it's going to go up dramatically because it's compounding. So you can just use some advanced calculations to then work out how much it's going to be in a month and 2 months. And so these it goes into the billions. That's the amazing thing. So now they're there. Now, are these stem cells good? Are they safe? What's their effect on cancer? Because that's the biggest scare that people have. Like, could this attach to a cancer cell and form that cancer cell? And the answer is no, which is awesome, because in 2008, since stem cells in urine were discovered, which are urine-derived stem cells, they have never been found to ever produce a tumor or a teratoma, which is a false cell of hair and teeth that is kind of gone rogue. So that's really important. Now, these stem cells, they've also found that the urine-derived stem cells have an ability to regulate the body and regulate processes that all relate to cancer and other disease processes, like autophagy and the vascular system, the metabolic system, hence why you've got so many metabolites. And this regulatory aspect is very fascinating, because if you can, and also autophagy and apoptosis. So apoptosis is pre-programmed cell death, and autophagy, the body's ability to self cleanse and eat like a Pac-Man. So if urine-derived stem cells have regulatory capacities in this, and again, look at the Wake Forest study, look at researchers like Zhang that have been uncovering this and replicating this in both in vitro and in vivo, which means in life. They've actually done this in animals, and where they're putting these stem cells into the brains of mice, they're forming neurons in half the time that they normally do, and things like this, putting them into the hearts of mice, forming the heart tissue, the cardiomyocytes. And you look at this and you realize, wow, this is just a masterpiece. And this clearly is exactly what has been discovered about mesenchymal stem cells, because a urine-derived stem cell actually models a mesenchymal stem cell in that it has the same doubling time and immunophenotype. And it makes sense that, okay, so think about this. Everyone, even your haters, your biggest haters, all probably understand that stem cells are quite an amazing science, and that if they were going to get a knee replacement, they would probably try stem cells first. Those stem cells are all basically from urine. They're all babies' urine. They're amniotic fluid, unless you're getting it from an aborted fetus, which is completely unethical, and a Frankenstein model that's more likely to result in cancer. So remember, you want to get from the filtration of the blood, a pure substance, which urine is. It's a filtration system that then creates a safe environment for a stem cell, not a kind of rogue environment where you could inject false cells. Now, what do I see that the stem cells are doing? Well, the University of Chicago actually had this amazing research article which is showing that what happens with a stem cell is they attach to tumors. They actually go and they look for tumors, and they gravitate to them. That's why they're actually getting used as drug delivery mechanisms, because they're just going straight to these tumors. And what are they doing with the tumors? Now, instead of what you think where, oh no, it's going to form into the tumor is actually interesting, because a cancer cell is actually completely under differentiated. In fact, the cancer stem cells are the ones that are the real causation factors, not the regular cancer cells, but the cancer stem cells. But now they're the big issue. So then the question then is like, well, let's kill the cancer stem cells. And so they look at things like, okay, well, let's kill them with metformin, which there's clinical studies on this. It does work. Or let's kill it with menbendazole, which is the human version of fenbendazole, an anti-parasite. Let's kill them with these. And they do work. They actually do kill cancer stem cells. But guess what? A cancer stem cell is an undifferentiated cell, just like another stem cell. And guess what? They can switch forms. They can turn into healthy cells. And guess what mesenchymal stem cells do? They actually can help educate cancer stem cells to become normal, healthy cells. That's why I believe that urine is the most powerful substance to actually re-educate the body to solve the dysregulation issue that's causing the body to misfire, which is why a HCG test is used to determine cancer and to determine pregnancy, which shows that it's a misfire of the body. And all you have to do is re-educate the body, not kill the cancer, but actually re-educate the body to distinguish between self and non-self. Then it can solve all these issues. These cells can differentiate back into normal, healthy cells and transform from these one-cell amoeba type cell structures into complex cell structures like hair, teeth, and heart tissue, etc.
Wow. Well, that makes sense, because one of my instructors that helped me understand more about this medicine, he healed himself from stage 4 cancer. He had one of his testicles removed. They wanted to take out his lymph nodes. And he was a Swedish national. So he flew back to Sweden to get this free medicine, really. And they took out one of his testicles and they gave him chemo. And then they said, hey, the chemo didn't work, but we're going to take out your lymph nodes. And that should probably do the trick. And he was like 28 or 29 at the time. And he goes, lymph nodes? I think those things are kind of important. And he's like, I'm going to go home and think about this. And that's when he researched urine therapy, or he found urine therapy. And he looped his urine for 3 weeks straight. And then he came back to the doctors, and they couldn't find the cancer in his body. And so he challenged me to a urine fast, and I did 7 days on it. He also taught me about aged urine enemas. And I thought it was very interesting, the weird fluke or parasites that came out of me after that. And so that's, one anecdote. I'd like to hear.
Okay.
I'd like to hear yours. I think part of my anecdote, I use it on my skin topically. I partied very hard in my 20s, and I smoked for many years as well. And so, almost approaching 60, I do believe that this is one longevity hack or longevity trick. And I was reading on your website and some of the subsequent papers that I clicked through that not only did they notice the stem cells, and again, that's what I heard through the folklore, and that's what resonated with me, but also that it creates telomeres. And I know that telomeres are very, important in the biohacking sphere for extending life or life extension. And so maybe you can tell me, you've got 18 months into the practice yourself,
Yeah,
maybe some of your anecdotes, and then a little bit what you know about anti-aging. Obviously, stem cells is a big deal, but a little bit more of the anti-aging and the biohacking element.
That's awesome. Absolutely. So yeah, some of my experience has been that on that, like I think 14, it might be as much as 18 months, but somewhere around there, it was really Ed Group that finally got me over the line, and it was Dr. Rashid Buttar that was just an angel to me in the sense that he's somebody that was very well known, and his doctor was he was a doctor, sorry, for Robert F. Kennedy, who's running for president, and so he was, always kind of there as a mover and shaker, helping people that were prominent and helping people that weren't well known. He helped his son reverse autism, and I'd always quizzed him out, like, how do you help people with these vaccine injuries? I'm really concerned. I'm super concerned. I think this is the worst thing that's ever happened, and I just can't live like with like all the people that I know, people that are taking their own life. Like there's some groups where they've got every week they've got a few people that have just taken their life. I've been with these people that are injured. I'd put tens of thousands of dollars. There's one case that she was one of the first people that were injured in the Pfizer clinical trial. I put $30,000 of my own money to try and help this girl recover. And so it was a real intention. So people that think, oh man, these guys are just looking for attention, they like to say something controversial. It's like, one, I didn't want to find this. I wanted to find a solution that would work. And I was very concerned about what was going on and what's going on for people. And so that's how I arrived at this. And then I started seeing these transformations in people that I wasn't able to achieve. And believe me, like, I mean, I'm throwing my hard-earned money at this. Do you think I wanted to sink that into a drain? Like, who wants to like light their money on fire? Like, so I never wanted to like give people therapies that didn't work. And I also knew that if it's all these expensive therapies that are the only ways to get out of these really severe diseases, then most of the world's going to die. And most people won't be able to afford it. You've got billions of people that, live on dollars a day, if that. And so it started opening up all this kind of thing. So then as I started employing this in my own life and in those that were injured, we started to see these results that like I couldn't see them at all. Didn't matter how much money I was throwing at a case, I couldn't see these cases reverse. And even though it was using all the protocols that all the big doctors recommend and what they were saying, like, this is working, I just like, none of it was working as far as I could tell. And I thought it would, and I was convinced that it would. So I was willing to put my money on the line. And also risked giving someone false hope or give them hope and then look, oh wow, this didn't work. So I had to be really open-minded. This doctor Rashid tells me, okay, this is what's happening. This is why we believe it's going to work, because I'm convinced it's absolutely going to work, because it's the original DNA. That's how you can reverse anything. And I was like, okay, wow, this kind of makes sense, but it sounds fanatical. And so then I start trying it myself. Like, wow, why am I feeling energy? I've struggled with chronic fatigue my whole life. Why am I feeling energy? Why am I getting comments now of like how I look from people that are really close and doctors that had seen me, not only my blood work, but even just visibly looking at me saying, okay, you've been to our clinics and you look amazing now. And, even people that know me 10 years ago, normally people will be like, okay, yeah, he's aging okay. But no, it's like, you look a lot better now than you did 10 years ago when I first connected with you and we became friends. So I'm 37 now. I put it on my skin every day, basically, but I certainly do drink it every day. And this is, I believe, helped me a lot. It does work in the anti-aging aspects, and so I'll cover that in a second. Just coming back to these injuries, man, this was amazing. And I can talk about the injuries, or are you going to get censored for that?
I don't know. Hopefully, my editor will be sensitive
Yeah,
to that. Why don't you let it rip? I'd like to put this up on YouTube, but let's see what you have to say. I mean, a lot of this is anecdotal,
it's
so
anecdotal, exactly. And so these are, yeah. So you can kind of
just speak in the frame of what you witnessed.
Okay, sure, absolutely. So Gloria Charlene, I meet her in January of 2023. She then says, okay, she explains her injury. So hours after she gets her second experimental injection, I'll call it that, and she then starts bleeding, and she'd already had her period, and now this doesn't stop for 7 months. She's bleeding 16 days a month. She's got a double cycle. I'd never even heard of this before. And accompanied with that is this profuse palpitation of the heart. So ever since that day, and then thereon for the next 2 years, she has these heart palpitations that feel like her heart's going to beat out of its chest. And then she starts having these numb sensations on half of her body, on the left side of her body. She's got these splitting migraines. So and her eyes, sensitivity to light, she's got to close her eyes. She has to lie down. She's got a 16, 17-year-old daughter. She's got to now, work out what's going to happen to her child if she has a heart attack and dies. And she's basically had her life ruined. She's a mathematician at a university. Her life has been ruined as far as she can tell at this point. So she is the one that's then responsible to single-handedly take down the mandate to have this experimental injection put into all the students, because she showed up at all the meetings and she explained her testimony. Some people had a heart there. They had that pass, but still her life is still on this trajectory. I meet her in January 2023. I explain this therapy to her. We're on a bus. These people that get injured like this get kind of put up on stage to explain their injury, but then everyone kind of looks at them like, oh, that sucks, that happened to you. And, these companies really need to do a better job, and this is really terrible. But they're kind of like just kind of left to suffer. And I was like, this is so wrong. And I felt really, moved and motivated to just do anything I could. And so for her, I felt like I had to normalize it as well. So I had a whole group. There's like 8 people that all had these horrific injuries. Like, one guy, he had like it wasn't a glioblastoma, it was a gliodendro, is a like a aggressive brain tumor that was basically triggered like within 2 weeks of his experimental injection. So we'd see all these kinds of cases, and the whole house there are all suffering. I go into the restroom and then come out with a bottle with urine, and I drank it in front of them, and I'm explaining, hey, look, I know this sounds weird, I know it looks weird, but I believe that this is how your body is going to get the unique answer to the problem that you've got. And this is how the body solves problems like this. And it's amazing. Like, all these doctors don't know what's going on in your body. They don't know even what's in this injection. They don't know. Your body knows, and it has all the antibodies, it has all the anti-poisons, the anti-venoms, the antitoxins, the anti-parasites. It has all of that because the body mounts responses to these. And so then she then starts doing this. Within the first day, her heart palpitations stop, and they've never come back since. It's coming up to 12 months now since that time. Her menstrual cycle ends up completely normalizing. It takes about 2 months for that to then be completely painless, like above average kind of period from somebody that's been bleeding 16 days a month. Her migraines have gone, but these are the most beautiful things. Now I'm going to come into telomerase, because her hair then grows really like soft, and she's holding it out and said, look at my hair, look how soft it is. She loses 20 pounds of weight in the first 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, sorry. And then her skin looks clear, her eyes look amazing and clear. Then she says her knees aren't cracking and popping, and they had been for a long time, and her feet aren't chapped or cracked. And I'd started seeing then case after case of this, even people with like low hearing, and they'd put it in their ears, they'd reverse these conditions. Some of these also, because of these specific poisons, they had nicotine patches that were helping to compete with their nicotine receptors. This really helped. And there's a real science behind that. So there's a couple of things they did in addition, and an anti-parasitic, whether it was ivermectin or fenbendazole, or even arguably potentially better, still all the natural ones like the wormwood, black walnut hulls, green harvested, mimosa pudica seed. And I'm doing some of that as well with the manufacturing, with a supplement company that I own. But these are the different things that are available, and they were using these, getting results. And it was just amazing. Like Nancy Henderson, she had a different type of experimental shot, and combined with, then there's a few factors that ended her with this chronic shingles condition that meant that half of her face was going black, and her eye completely closed over. She said the pain was so bad, like even when we've interviewed her, she just can't stop crying when she thinks about the amount of pain she was in for so long. She went from 140 pounds down to 80 pounds, and she was dying. She was literally dying. She looked like a prisoner of war. She said that with her own words. She then started doing the urine therapy, putting it topically on her skin, putting these like a feminine pad on her face, letting it soak overnight. This would go into her skin. She was drinking it. it reversed her condition. It was so amazing, and she's still doing like a bit of repair on the nerve damage, but every day she gets better, and she doesn't have this severe pain anymore. She's put on the weight. Her skin looks amazing. Her face looks beautiful and bright. She then complained about not being able to hear a Bible study teacher on the at the church she goes to. And last week she texted me and she said, after putting urine in my ears, I had an 80% improvement in hearing from 1 week to the next. And I keep hearing all these kinds of stories. It's beautiful.
Wow. I mean, that is powerful. And this is the resonant intuition, the wavelength that I caught, 20 years ago. And why I haven't stopped, I'm not the biggest advocate. Now hearing this, I will be advocating more. And I've always advocated kind of the anecdotes or word around the campfire and my own personal experience. If somebody asks me, I don't have a problem sharing my experience, but I'm not out there proselytizing that everybody needs to do urine therapy. But maybe that might shift. I don't know. Before we leave, though,
You did mention the telomeres if you wanted me to close that loop.
yeah, go ahead with the telomeres, and then I've got a couple other questions.
Yeah, no worries. I'll do that one in a quick nutshell. So, and just getting the verbiage correct so that people can understand. So, a telomere is the repetition of DNA on the end of a chromosome. If it's long, that your body will basically remember everything at its optimal age, which is 26, which is interesting. So that's the fountain of youth. If you can lock into this telomerase, well, okay, now here's a new word. Telomerase is then when your telomere gets short, then you're accelerating your degeneration of everything. Like, so that's disease processes. That's like looking old, feeling old, hair falling out, anything, any sign of aging. And if you lengthen a telomere, that's called telomerase, which is basically being understood as not possible. But it has been proven that there are different modalities, especially all the different lifestyle benefits do help to lengthen your telomeres, or whether it's like exercise, hydration, good sleep. So this actually will activate telomerase and lengthen your telomere, which means you can reverse aging. It is connected directly to stem cells. And you can find this with urine-derived stem cells. The Wake Forest study, which is really interesting, I'd been bringing it up a few times here. I'd mentioned that you had 100 million stem cells. Now, the question is, do they work? Do they lengthen the telomere? The answer is yes, actually, but not all of them. 75% of them did. In the 20 to 40-year-old age group, 75% of the urine-derived stem cells induced, or the verbiage is, were telomerase positive, the ability to lengthen the telomere. They did. They do work. And it's because when you're putting stem cells in the body, you're increasing your these are undifferentiated cells, and when they're attaching to different tissue in the body, they're growing. It's like being a baby all over again. It's like a Wolverine. I'm talking about X-Men, but this whole thing of a regenerative aspect. This is the same thing as if you think about a salamander. Isn't this amazing? A salamander regrows a limb, it gets it chopped off, even an eye poked out, and the eye grows back again. How does it do that? And I'm saying that we were created by God to do this, and we've lost it. We see it like with our fingernails, which is interesting. So these keep growing, or our hair keeps growing. But wouldn't that be amazing if our diseased heart would grow back, like grow where it's injured? The liver is the one organ that will do it, though. Is if it's cut, it will actually just regrow it. It has those capacities. But the reason why salamander can do it is actually because of its frequencies. And it's because it can push its frequency to a minus 50 millivolt. And at that frequency, that's what it can do. Unlike a frog will only be able to go to like a plus 30 millivolts. So it doesn't get to that huge high frequency. At that frequency, you can regenerate. And that's why I believe that urine is so critical. If I got a glass of urine right now and I grabbed a light bulb and got some wires, put it into the urine, it would light up the light bulb. And what you'd find is, with a liter of urine, you can charge power a house for 8 hours. It's 8.49 kilowatts of energy in a liter of urine. And we could fuel our cars with urine. It's an energy source, and it's safe for the body. So if you want to talk about an energy drink, come on, guys, it's there. That's your energy drink. But it's going to correct the frequency. So it's not just the stem cells. It's the fact that your body is correcting its frequencies, which then allow those regenerative aspects to come in. You're pushing your frequencies higher by connecting your electrical system, because you're an electrical being. man, I'm just so fascinated with this. This is why you self-heal so much quicker when you do these. This is why you can regenerate the body out of diseases, chronic diseases like cancer. And that's why these case studies are amazing. So yes, you can look younger, feel younger. These anti-aging components are fascinating. And look, it matters to everyone. It matters to me. I don't want to age and look old. I want to look young. I want to have a six-pack, and I've got a six-pack, and I'm grateful for that. I just want to do these things.
Yeah, well, and you see what's happening in the world today with so much exogenous hormones. You see, oh, let's see, we lost him there for a second. And so let's see if he comes back. All righty. Let's see if he comes back. There he is. Okay, there you go.
Sorry
Are you
about
there?
that.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
How about your camera? Will it come back on? There we go. Nice.
How's that? Okay. So my setting is a little different there. Is that fine? And
You're
can you hear me
fine.
all right? Because now I can put the headphones in, because I just had my computer die. I had too many ports running because of the setup, and I couldn't get the thing in there. So well, I can
Yeah,
switch back.
yeah, you're fine. If you want to put your headphones on, that works too.
Cool. Let's see.
And so,
Go
and then
through.
we'll be closing it out in a couple of minutes.
Yeah,
So,
no worries. Exactly. It's just going to be the end. So. And then was there any direction you wanted to push people in terms of resource wise?
yeah, I think we'll just do urinetherapy.com /health nut. Yeah.
Yes, except for the fact that we can't really do that because there's nothing. So no, I don't have anything to track with sales and things like that. But I do at healingseries.com /health nut, or anything like that. Like I've got all my docu-series that are all set to track any sales and things like that. Like, so in a sense, the pitch for that would be, well, Jonathan's like got his very best work in this 9-part documentary series called Healing Genesis, and it's just life-changing, and you can watch it for free right now. And all you have to do is just go to healingseries.com /health nut, and I can say the words or whatever, and watch the series for free, all 9 episodes. And that's going to be totally life-changing. You can learn, far more about all of this and learn how to do it and implement it, and get fantastic results, you or a loved one, etc. That's the way that we could land the plane and then track your sales and stuff like that. It's a linear pathway. Urinetherapy.com is like they land there. They're not even going to give their name and email probably, right? They're just going to land there, grab resources. But so that's how we do it.
Okay.
If you want to do it.
Okay. We'll let you close out. Mount that phone though.
Yeah, I can't do it. Yeah, how's that?
Good. Yeah. Okay, so we're back. So yeah, with all the fake boobs, fake lips, fake plastic surgery, TRT, HGH, steroids, drugs, all trying to act like we're turning back the clock. And what I argue with a lot on the internet is TRT and steroids that makes you rigid, like you were in your 20s, right? But as an aging man, you don't want to be rigid. You want to be the wizard, Jedi, ninja, right? That you're turning into, and you, by the natural hormonal balance, you don't want to be all injected with things that are going to make you hard, give you high blood pressure, et cetera. So it sounds like I've been really on track for myself for the last 20 years, drinking these telomerase. How do you say it?
Telomerase. Well,
Telomerase.
the words I would use is drinking these stem cells that lengthen my telomeres. That's how, or induce telomerase. Anyway, so that's the technical way to say it.
Drinking these stem cells that increase my telomerase. Yes.
So increase my telomeres and then and induce telomerase. It's because telomere is the repetition of DNA, and the telomerase is the act of lengthening the telomere. So anyway, that's just because it's hard to you hear the words and like which one means which.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And ultimately, I like to get the general gist of things and then simplify it for everyone else.
And you're the best at it, man. You're the one that's got way more history on this than I do. You've done it for longer. You're getting the benefits of it. And that's, that humility of like, I don't understand every single thing about this. You're not supposed to, you don't have to. Most of the societies that came before us didn't, but they got the results and they're healthy and happy. Like, just do that. But go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, well, and this is the purpose of having you on there, because because I've been so vocal about my practice, people think I am the expert when I tell them to read some of the books that you recommended or some of the resources. And I'm going to let you share your resources after we're done. But anyways, this has been mind blowing. You put a lot of medical linguistics research to it, a lot of intelligence, science, beyond anecdotes, plus the anecdotes were extremely powerful for those injected injured humans that you talked about earlier. I also heard that it was used as an antiseptic in the Civil War. And I also heard in World War I as well, when they didn't have enough medical supplies. And sometimes if the guy didn't have enough urine, they'd use the other guy next to him. Have you also heard this in your research?
Yeah, absolutely. These would go-to therapies through history and through recent history. It's so sad that it kind of got erased from the medical textbooks, but it was in there. And so, yeah, they got used. It was certainly important during these wars. Chlorine dioxide actually was another one. There's another subject, but that it was regarded as a universal antidote and was used as an oxidative therapy to cause the body to respond. And an oxidative therapy, I'm saying, is far more effective than an antioxidant therapy because it's producing, the body will give that natural response. And so then that's why ozone therapy is so helpful for people with cancer. And so I think urine taps into those same pathways, and that's why it's so effective. It's like, and that's people understanding, if you could just realize that, it's going to work as an antiseptic. It's going to work in healing. It's going to help people that have limbs that are going gangrene. There's so many case studies. If you look at all the urine therapy centers through India, they'll show you so many case studies on that. And they're like begging the governments to like consider this, so it could be all through the hospitals. And it would change so many people's lives because it does work in those circumstances. And it's like I don't really know anything that it doesn't help with or work for. And it's just to what degree, and generally it's like to an enormous degree. And just do a few other things to help assist if you can. But if it's the only thing you've got, look at the history, look at the science. And it was like with J.W. Armstrong, when they looked at that case study that came out of Europe in 1948, they had 300 physicians that came together in Europe, and they said, look, we've got hundreds of case studies of this H11 extract, which is human urine injected for cancer patients. And we've got thousands of laboratory studies, and it's working. Like this has been 12 years we've studied this, and we're presenting this before the medical board, and you guys should consider this because we've practically, in lots of the case studies in Your Own Perfect Medicine, they show practically 100% success rates with these. Like there's often just one or two maybe that didn't completely respond in that time, but nobody died, and that people were just perhaps needed a bit more support. But these were the therapies that were being used, and Japan was producing these studies, and America. And in 1966, in Atlantic City, the researchers there found that every time they put urine together with cancer cells in vitro in a petri dish, it would cause the cancer cells to line up in end-to-end rows. So it would actually instruct cancer cells, which is actually what we're finding with with the stem cell aspect, where they can educate cancer stem cells. So yeah, there's so much there through history, and it was used in all these different contexts, and that's the reason why even millions of people, Troy, do this today. The reason why you know that, and there's a PubMed article which is called "Urine Through the Centuries," and they show how prolific it is through the different cultures. So naturally, it would be hypothesized that there'd at least be like, millions, if not tens or even hundreds of millions of people that do this. It's in these cultures. It's been kind of demonized. There's a lot of professional athletes that do it. Boxers have been known to do this. And it's all throughout, product lines, like I was mentioning, throughout, whether it's for eye infections with murine and ear infections, or skin with urea, or it's with the blood clots with urokinase, and urea for burns. And so hence why it was used in wars then, but it's used actually in wars now today. Military are told, if you have a burn victim, urinate on them and have them soak in their urine and the whole team's urine, because they need enough. And it makes sense. Urea is critical for burns. It's life-saving.
Before we go, can you share a little bit your personal anecdotes? You shared with me you had some skin eruptions, and
yeah, absolutely. So my personal anecdotes on my life, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So in my life, yeah. Well, I mean, skin eruptions. I did have chronic boils when I was a kid. So yeah, I've had mild acne, right? So it's really been helpful for my skin. It's my dandruff, right? So I struggle with dandruff, like trying to use all those dumb shampoos, and then one night of putting urine on my head, just gone, right? So people should know about these things. Like, use it on your skin topically. It'll show you, because you've got a flaking scalp. It's dry. Use something that is the most powerfully proven, clinically proven moisturizer. Moisturize your scalp with your own urine and let that problem completely resolve itself for good. And the only reason why it'll ever come back is because the toxic water coming out of the faucet is going to maybe cause that again. So then you'll know what to do, or you can just fix your water supply. So you've got some options. But yeah, these are the things that happen for me. The energy levels, that's been so helpful, really encouraging for me. The hydration, the regularity, and using the restroom regularly, because it's still easy for me to get constipated, or something like that, just due to whatever things are going on in my body. But urine keeps that clear, and so that I never have constipation as I do urine therapy, as I've been doing it. It's and then what was interesting, my doctor, she's been looking at my blood for the last maybe 4 years. And so she had some concerns, and which is always embarrassing when you're a health educator, an expert that kind of is still battling with their own health conditions. And so you kind of you do whatever you can do. You just keep going. You don't make anything up. You don't lie. You just keep educating, keep helping people. You're learning for your own sake. Anyway, these are the things that were happening for me. And but then when I was able to discover, wow, this is a therapy, I'm going to try this, and I'm going to try this in isolation. So I actually got off all my supplements, and I just stayed on urine. And I'm not saying that people need to do this, but this was really interesting. As I did this, it was in August of this year. My doctor called me. She was like really eager to get on a call, and I was thinking, oh, well, it's going to be bad. I don't want it to be bad. It's going to be really disappointing for me, because I'm really excited about some of these things I'm doing. I'm seeing improvements, but I don't know if my blood's going to score well or not. I just don't know. But she, like, ear to ear grin. She's like, every marker is improved. Like, this is amazing. Like, what have you been doing? It's like, well, I told you, Kathleen, about urine therapy. And so, yeah. So I'm like, Dr. Geringer, look, you should look into this more, because this is what's helping me. And so these are some of the things that happened for me. And it's still, I mean, look, you're 20 years and I'm 14, 15, 16 months in or so. So I can't wait to see what that looks like over time. So, and I think that's the biggest takeaway that I'll give people with their own health. I believe when you're doing urine therapy, your health trajectory looks like this. When you're not, it's just kind of like, I don't know. I just felt a lot of doom. At the end of the day, I felt kind of doom as to where my future was headed, because I just felt like it didn't matter how many different things I do, I'm showing signs of accelerated aging. I'm showing signs of of degeneration. I need regenerative things. And I can tell you, I've spent probably $50,000 on stem cells over the last maybe 2 or 3 years. And so I can tell you 100 million stem cells are going to cost you at least $15,000. And I can tell you right now, you can get them for free with aged urine. Like, why are people laughing when you should be laughing at yourself for not doing this?
Free 50 free. well, look, Jonathan, this has been a very enlightening conversation. Your lexicon is incredible. Your research is in depth. Your intelligent use of intelligence. I really enjoyed this. And so, can you tell people where they can find more of your work and all the research that you're doing to help people naturally?
Absolutely, Troy. What a pleasure, man. I really love doing this. And like I continue to give you props because you're obviously on this well before I was. And I'm excited that sometimes you can come into something and just kind of get a fire hydrant. And so, the last kind of few years of my life has very much been a fire hydrant, and the tenacity of looking to solve a global problem that is part of the reason why we're looking at a 25% excess mortality. How do you account for an additional 25% of people dying year over year? Why is that happening? That's close to 3 times what World War II was with a 10% X mortality. So it's a 2.5 times that number. So I've been in this acceleration mode to get people answers and dedicating my life to this. So I put everything aside when I get the opportunity to educate people on this, and all my resources are about educating people on these opportunities that they have. And we have toxins and poisons that are in our environment today that mean that we need solutions to help us cleanse these poisons out of our body, as well as just giving ourselves the ability to just have that elixir of youth, right? So these societies that came before us did not regard urine as a waste product. They regarded urine as the elixir of youth, the gold of the blood. And this is why a sculpture of the fountain of youth is a little boy urinating. So the younger that you are, the more telomerase activity in your stem cells, as proven by Wake Forest last year. And you look at the age groups. If you're 50 and up, it's 59.2% of your stem cells in your urine produce telomerase activity, which means that even if you're 60 and up, 50, 70, your stem cells in your urine are still incredible, and they do everything they need to do, and they're perfect for you. But yeah, children do have the fountain of youth, but it's not their blood, it's their urine. And, so the occultic thing that's going around, so dark, so evil, it's painless. It's about we have these resources in society, and you can see that a lot of these groups, like Air Sorrento is a company that sold pregnant women's, postmenopausal women's urine to women trying to fall pregnant. They did $855 million in one calendar year back in 1992. It was working that effectively. Women were volunteering their urine, and then the women that were paying for it were paying $1,400. But if people just knew about this, then there are ways, because I mentioned that before, there are ways of exchanging urine for different purposes, just like breast milk is given to cancer patients. Children's urine could be given to cancer patients, just as one of the many examples. But I'm still saying the most ideal substance for that cancer patient is their own urine, because in their own urine is the antigen. That antigen, when reintroduced into the body, will produce an antibody response. When the antibody attaches to the antigen, that's when you have recognition. I see you. It's like night vision goggles for the body, recognizing self and non-self and saying, oh, you're not actually supposed to be growing, and you're supposed to be a normal, healthy cell. Go back to where you belong and go redifferentiate, or you need to die because you're a non-helpful cell to the body. So these are some of the tools, Troy, and some of the tools that we're helping people with is giving people access to information that can change their life. So I produce documentary series, and we have a series actually now for a limited time where streaming it for free, so people can just log in, watch it for free, enjoy it, and just register to watch it. And it's a 9-part series called Healing Genesis, and it is accessible through healingseries.com/health nut. So that's healingseries.com/health nut. and you can watch it all for free, enjoy it, get that information, hear from all the different doctors that I'm working with. There's around 40 doctors actually that are all speaking and sharing. You'll see me riff like this back and forth with the doctors. You'll see all the case studies. The people that I mentioned, you'll actually see them face to face. You'll see their like iPhone footage or me interviewing them on a set, or you'll see the progression. You'll see all the images of the before and after. You'll see the doctors. You'll see me present this before doctors that have never heard about it and just say, can you fault the science on this? And you watch them like under fire and just, I cannot fault this. This is amazing. You'll see all these conversations. I've not had a single doctor be able to shoot me down on this. So I don't care about all the trolls down there. Like I know that I'm speaking to world leading doctors that are the most responsible doctors for that's why the biggest names in the world are the ones that go and see these doctors. And that's even true for me. Some of the biggest names, I'm going to call out the different celebrities that are having me help them on their case with this information. But they're not laughing and trolling. They're the ones that are saying, help me and my family. And so why don't you just change your story, get the help you need? I'm not going to judge you that you used to be a hater. Don't be a hater though. Like it's only going to hurt you. It only helps us in our algorithms, and it only hurts you in your lack of knowledge. It's going to hurt you long term. Look at your face.
I love it, dude. That is so awesome. Well, awesome. Where can people find you on socials, bro?
Yeah, sure. So TikTok, you can look up True Health Secrets. We got climbing up to what 400,000 followers there, and then my name Jonathan Otto got a bit less on that one, but still a lot on that TikTok. Jonathan Otto, just look up my name there, and then you've got my Instagram, which is jono.otto, which is JONNO.OTTO. It's a very personal one as well. Like lots of stuff on my family there. It's a lot smaller, but that's a nice way to interact as well. And then just kind of look me up on YouTube as well. Jonathan Otto Health Secrets is the name of my or Cell Health Secret is the company. There are some of the ways to tap in and follow along, and then Facebook as well. And so you'll see me on Jonathan Otto Live. So that's how you can get me on those platforms.
Okay, you're awesome, brother. We got a lot of work to do. I'm glad we met, and
Yeah.
we'll stay in touch, man. You're the man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks so much, Troy. Let's go help people and let's give people answers and save lives. Appreciate you, bro.
Awesome.